What if Earth no longer needed the womb to create life? What if birth could happen in a lab? Not in theory, in reality. In 2017, scientists placed a premature lamb inside a sealed, transparent bag. It looked like something from a sci-fi nightmare, but it wasn't fiction. It was real science. A mechanical womb, fluid flowing, heart beating. The lamb lived. It grew. It opened its eyes. That moment changed everything, because from that point forward, the line between natural birth and artificial creation began to blur. The place wasn't a dystopia, it was a hospital, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. The bag? A synthetic sac, filled with lab-made amniotic fluid. The heartbeat? Connected to tubes and wires, mimicking a mother's body with unsettling precision. They called it the biobag. And it wasn't just a weird prototype. It worked. The lambs survived and developed as if they were still inside the womb. No mother, no body, just science. And here's the kicker. This wasn't about animals. The real goal was to save extremely premature babies. Human lives, fragile, dependent, waiting for a chance. Doctors explained that this technology could buy time, weeks that means survival. Inside the biobag, lungs could finish forming, organs could grow stronger, and maybe, just maybe, we could rewrite neonatal medicine forever. But with every step towards saving life, another door creaked open. A door leading to unsolved mysteries no one was ready to face. Because once we admit that life can begin outside the human body, what else are we willing to outsource? Where does nature end and technology that seems impossible begin? For the first time, humanity watched something grow in a machine and quietly wondered, what are we becoming? A species of caregivers or creators? And that silent question didn't fade. It multiplied. The biobag wasn't the final chapter, it was the first line of a new story. A story where wombs could be replaced, birth redesigned, and the rules of life rewritten. And it didn't take long for others to take that first line and start writing entire blueprints for the future. Have you ever heard of ectogenesis? Most people haven't, and those who have rarely forget it. It's the scientific term for something that sounds like sci-fi. Growing human life outside the human body. Not just assisting birth, replacing it. That idea, absurd at first glance, began with British scientist J.B.S. Haldane over a century ago. He suggested that one day, we might not need the human womb at all. What started as a provocation is now becoming real, with funding, research, and quiet progress. In theory, ectogenesis could change everything. No pain, no risk to the mother, no biological limits. Embryos growing in capsules, fully monitored by machines and AI. Sounds like technology that seems impossible? Maybe. But the real world has already begun testing it. The most viral example is Ectolife, a concept video that shook the internet. In it, babies grow in transparent pods, arranged like glowing honeycombs. Each pod is filled with sensors, cameras, and custom settings. Parents can choose eye color, immunity, even intelligence levels. It all looks clean, clinical, promising. But that's where the creepy facts begin to surface. Though Ectolife is just a concept, the tech behind it is very real. Synthetic amniotic fluid, automated fetal ventilation, real-time embryo imaging, and more. In Japan, scientists have already kept mouse embryos alive outside the womb. What used to be a bizarre discovery is now just science. The line between fiction and reality is dissolving. So what happens when reproduction becomes a service? An editable, automated, outsourced process? The question might sound absurd today, but tomorrow it could be policy. This isn't just a curious fact. It's the beginning of a path filled with unsolved mysteries, shocking truths, and scientific discoveries that could reshape everything we know about life. Because maybe the future of birth won't be about us. What if the ultimate symbol of motherhood disappeared, not by tragedy, but by choice? A world where no one feels the baby kick from inside, where parents meet their child through a screen, not an ultrasound on the fridge. If the womb is removed, pregnancy becomes an interface, an app, a monthly subscription, like a streaming service, but for life. For centuries, to carry life meant sacrifice and miracle, birth stories passed down like invisible medals. Now, with a click, it can be outsourced. No stretch marks, no fear, no bonds. A glass capsule replaces the belly. What used to be connection is now surveillance. Cameras, charts, AI. Programmable births, scheduled emotions. And maybe you think, that's terrifying, but to many, it's freedom. A woman with endometriosis, a gay couple, a survivor of abuse, an executive who wants a baby, but not to give up her body. For the first time, the question isn't who can carry life, but who controls the factory of life. And that changes everything. Culture isn't ready for this. We still celebrate baby bumps with photo shoots. We throw gender reveals with balloons. We cry when mothers hold newborns on their chest. What happens when babies come straight from a sanitized capsule, with a QR code on the wrist and a performance certificate? Where's the ritual? Where's the miracle? The logic changes, so do the roles. Having a child is no longer a human journey, it's a tech project. One more consumer choice. And with that comes new questions. Choose the highest-rated incubation pod? Pay more for an algorithm that detects rare traits? Upgrade to premium AI for womb personality customization? The line has been crossed. And now, we're in new territory. A place where pregnancy no longer needs a body. Where society must choose whether to just survive or to still feel. And it's here, right at this edge, where the questions no one wants to ask begin to surface. Because when you alter life's beginning, you awaken controversy. But behind every innovation, no matter how fascinating, there's something no one wants to admit: consequences. Because where there is freedom, there is also control. And where there is progress, abuse finds a way. Behind closed doors, ectogenesis is already fueling disputes between governments, religious leaders, and corporations. Scientists push for unrestricted research, activists demand boundaries, and quietly, biotech companies are patenting processes that could turn human reproduction into a product. The question now isn't, is this possible? It's, who will profit from it? Because once life is grown in capsules, it enters the marketplace. And where there's a market, there's inequality, exclusion, and power games. The problem isn't just technological, it's political, social, and maybe the real risk was never science itself, but what humanity will do with it. What if being born in a capsule became the standard? No one asks how a baby came into the world, only what subscription plan the parents chose. Basic, enhanced, or emotional intelligence included. Pregnancy becomes a package. Love, a feature. Birth, a service with an extended warranty. Clinics don't care, they manufacture. And affection? Reduced to performance charts. No maternity leave, no labor, just data downloads, trait upgrades, development reports. In this new normal, parenting begins with a contract, alerts, custom childhood design, and payments. Always payments, because those who don't pay, don't participate. The future becomes a product, and like every product, there's inequality. Traditions disappear. baby showers are Zoom invites. First cries, phone notifications. Baptisms, blockchain QR codes. And in place of touch, sensors. In place of scent, algorithms. In place of the womb, a transparent pod. Maybe the real risk isn't science, maybe it's the emotional silence. Because when everything can be controlled, tested, and upgraded, what's left to feel? So what if this becomes the norm? A world where babies aren't born, they're ordered. Where the first human connection is with a machine. We traded pain for precision. We replaced the sacred with the synthetic. But in the process, did we lose something too human to upgrade? If life can now be designed, who decides what deserves to live? Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this made you think, subscribe, like, and share, because one day, this question might not be science fiction, it might be your decision.